Yo everybody, what's going on? This is Keegan from Kman Reviews. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you hit that like and the subscribe button. And if you have any opinions at all that you would like to share, make sure to leave them down in the comment section. Gym Class Heroes. As cruel as school children. Gym Class Heroes were an American rap rock group formed in 1997. Fronted by vocalist and rapper Travie McCoy, the band went out to have multiple, and I mean multiple, platinum-selling singles, some of which are just so embroidered into late 2000s, early 2010s radio, they've almost become nostalgic pieces. And all that success seemed to start with this album that I'm reviewing, As Cruel as School Children, released in 2006, the band's first and only certified gold album and the genesis of the band's hit-making career. One more thing I want to note before diving into this review is that there is a lot of different versions of this album, some with altered track lists, little extra remixes here and there. For the sake of practicality, even though I do tend to talk about deluxe editions, I'm going to stick to the 15 tracks listed as the official standard edition on both Wikipedia and Spotify. But let's just dive right in. What are my thoughts on As Cruel as School Children? Let's find out as I review it track by track. Normally I would start with the singles, and there were some big ones here. However, none of them were pre-released, so they don't qualify for me talking about singles. So instead, we will just start at the top of the track list, with that being The Queen and I, which is a very great way to open up a record. It doesn't kick off with a bang, but instead shows you just how well these guys can craft a melody and a hook. The muted rustling of the snare kicking off the track before the acoustic strumming, percussion, and funky bass work their way in, which helps give the song almost a Latin flavor to it, especially with the plucking for the chorus. Travie's always had a certain charisma to his delivery that hasn't really been matched in popular music ever since. A lot of swagger and confidence, but definitely a firm grip on pop tropes over the typical rap machismo. The lyrics, however, could be pretty problematic in today's time. I'm not going to dive too much into them. You can look at them yourself. All I'm going to say is, they haven't aged well. Even with that, though, it's got a solid musical vibe to it. Shoot Down the Stars is another very good track. A very enjoyable genre fusion is present here. The overall energy of the track is very serene, relaxed, kind of gives me a bit of R&B vibes, but then the percussion and Travie's rapping almost gives me some boom bap energy, or some earlier Eminem a la Eminem Show. I do think this track could have hit a bit harder, not too much like I want it to be a banger, but there's very minimal bass utilized here, and I would have loved for that to be augmented a little bit. The lyrics, though, are pretty great, just a motivational song. We often break ourselves down, but this song just reminds the listener that you don't see your potential in your own eyes. I also love the way the lyrics speak directly to the listener, trying to empower them, but also uses we in some instances to make the listener feel like a part of this group as well. That's also amazing. Little touches like that help make the song stand out. New Friend Request is a song that is definitely locked to its time. These lyrics about sending a virtual friend request to this love interest you fancy, anxiously waiting for their response, specifically name-dropping MySpace multiple times. This topic's been done to death so much with each passing social media fad. The instrumental here is pretty okay though, the synths ring through the mix with a good amount of potency, the percussion and bass are pretty catchy, and Travie still sells it the best he can, but I'm sorry, even coming from someone who likes dated, cheesy stuff, this is a bit excessive for me. Close Off, featuring Patrick Stump, is the first track on the record that truly shows the group's pop potential, and that potential was clearly seen as this did reach about halfway up the Billboard Hot 100. It strays away from the rap archetypes and leans heavier into pop and cleaner guitar work, shiny synths, and a simple, snappy percussive track. Travie really gets the chance to shine here. His flow is very smooth and quick, definitely trying to show a bit of technical flair rather than impressive lyrical themes, and he certainly steals the show when he comes on. Patrick's contribution here is minimal, only really taking the hook, and I'm not crazy that his higher falsetto is the dominant style here. He has a great falsetto, don't get me wrong, but it just feels a little bit too chirpy for my liking. As I mentioned though, it is minimal, so it doesn't hinder the track too much, and it still makes for a good time. Sloppy Love Jingle Part 1 is the beginning of this 3-part trilogy, with Travie at a bar doing these kinda pseudo freestyles, very little care for rhyming or melody. I see it more like narration than anything else. I do like the typical social ambience you would hear in a bar, very nice touch. All Travie's talking about here is basically telling the story of a girl who he picked up at a bar. We'll see the story progress throughout the other entries, but here it just seems to be slow, getting to know each other's situation. It's a decent enough interlude, I guess, although I feel like it suddenly stops the pace of the record. Viva La White Girl, conversely to Close Off, plays a little bit heavier over to the rock side. The percussion is great, but I adore this guitar work all throughout. Some more Latin-inspired flamenco-ish plucking like on the opener, but this also has an electric guitar, and the squealing shreds of it feel like heavenly light shining down on the music. I don't know, maybe I'm just a sucker for electric guitars. Another point I have to highlight is Travi not really giving a rap performance. He decides to harness his singing side, and it's okay. I still think he has a better timbre for hip-hop, but his singing is not bad at all. One thing that is bad, though, is the song's length. It's nearly 4 minutes long and rarely does anything different throughout its runtime. Even the funkier bridge isn't much different and is too brief to really affect anything. Yeah, just not my favorite here at all. 7 Weeks featuring William Beckett from the Academy is a personal highlight for me, mostly because I love William Beckett, and his more intimate, semi-melancholic delivery just works so well over this more mellow hip-hop beat with its sandy percussion and backing shaker, with more blue synths to amplify the downtrodden vibe of the track. Travi's delivery is also a perfect pairing, jumping back to his rapping about going on tour while leaving a partner at home. It's just how it has to be, so give it 7 weeks. It's not as impactful as earlier performances, but it works for what the song presents. One of my favorites here. It's Okay, But Just This Once continues the similar style this album is rooted in, taking similar tropes from various other songs here. I like the soul singer sample utilized on the chorus, gives it a bit of flavor alongside the more rock-focused percussion. Travi gets a chance to use both his rapping and his singing on this song. I like that contrast instead of just focusing on one the entire time. There's also some bass rumbling, clicky guitar plucks, and the rare synth blasts that are all added tastefully. Lyrically, the song seems to be a partying anthem, forgetting about work and the monotonous lifestyle you may live. It's okay to just do something stupid every now and then. Pretty fun tune. Sloppy Love Jingle Part 2 continues the story of Part 1. Same social ambience, same weird narrating freestyle as on that first Part 2, this time more focused on talking fast, which just feels really forced with no beat behind it. Travi shares the times when him and this girl were interacting and getting to know each other even more, cracking jokes, doesn't really go anywhere past that. It's weaved into the album well enough, but these Sloppy Love Jingles feel way more like pace killers than I think they were intended to. Biter's Block, featuring Speech from Arrested Development, takes a bit of cues from that band and focuses a bit more soul into the song with these descending synth keys that are nice. Not too much though, as there's still the percussion and plucky guitar work. I'm just kind of upset that Speech only got 4 lines in the entire song, just repeating the hook. He was an amazingly captivating MC for Arrested Development. Sure, he came off a little bit preachy at times, but he definitely has the pen to write this more conscious and verbose take on just calling out musicians only in it for the purchases and that don't write meaningful songs. The fact that he wasn't given a verse feels like a great disservice. Anyway, the tone of the song is pretty dry. Travi doesn't give a compelling performance in comparison to the beats, like maybe the more energy would have helped there. Hell, I think Speech actually nailed it here on the hook, which in itself is the best part of the song. Not feeling this one. Pass. Boys in Band's Interlude is a bit of a weird inclusion to the track list. I don't see why this one was necessary at all. It's got a nice beat to it at least, the wobbly synths paired with the delicate guitar while the percussion yet again takes center stage. That being said, I'm not sure what this track is even trying to say, just about band life, I think, but is it trying to be like a bragging song or like hardships turned around to find solace? I don't really know. I think I'm just looking too deep into a shorter than a minute interlude. Scandalous Scholastics is a pretty stupid song, but stupid in a funny way. I'll get to why that is, but I'll first talk about this beat because it's probably one of my favorites on the entire album. It's got a soulful, poppy punch to it. I love the peppy bass work and the oscillating synths. It all makes for a very fun instrumental, which kind of plays into these lyrics as well, telling the story of this schoolboy who's having intercourse with his teacher, resulting in him getting A's in the class and becoming one of the most popular kids in school. Funnily enough, this is one of Travi's most expressive performances on the whole album. He really sold this the best he could, and honestly, I can't hate the song if I tried to. On My Own Time, parentheses Right On, which is the longest track here, close to 5 minutes, and this is probably the closest the album gets to a ballad. It's got this comforting synthetic blanket resting in the background of the song, plus added twinkles to make the track feel extra soft and smooth, but it still retains the upbeat hip-hop nature of this album with clicky percussion and snaps. Travi's vocals feel a bit muffled, almost like they're coming through some kind of shitty speaker, a message being delivered to the listener, and it's a pretty hopeful and uplifting one, just about really pushing for it if you're an aspiring musician. The area of music industries can definitely be daunting, but don't let it deter you from wanting your goals. Pretty solid song, even if I do think the track could be a bit shorter. Cupid's Chokehold / Breakfast in America featuring Patrick Stump, which is the big single from this album, and really single-handedly kicked off the group's hit-making streak, and this is much better than the other song with Patrick Stump, Close Off. This is a damn classic. I love how punchy and powerful the percussion is, especially for the chorus. It's some of the most thunderous on the entire album, while the feathery strumming of the guitar and muted bass keep a slight semblance of melody. Patrick redeems his performance from the last appearance here with an iconic sing-along chorus from the Supertramp song Breakfast in America, hence why the song is Slash there. Travis got a bit of a monotone delivery. I would have liked a little bit more energy and life in that regard, but this is still a great song. And finally the closer, Sloppy Love Jingle Part 3, which continues and ends the trilogy of these songs with Travis still semi-freestyling over that bar ambience, but this time the plot thickens and Travis actually brought the girl home, only for him to wake up alone with a hangover and a note saying the sex was whack. And with that line, the album ends. Extremely anticlimactic closer. Overall, As Cruel as School Children is a solid album. I totally see why this kicked off a successful run for the band with some great hits. The album as a whole, though, doesn't quite reach that fabled bar. It's mostly one note with minor differentiations in tone from the core album tracks, leaving the songs with features as the real highlights, both for better and for worse. The interludes as well, they don't really add anything to the record, only splitting the cohesion even further. That being said though, the album is consistently good enough in its sound to be enjoyable, but not really unique enough to be a gem wanting to be unearthed. I'm feeling a 5.5 out of 10 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.